Gigi Berardi on FoodWISE, and I am concluding my early section on climate change tonight and presenting a few more newspaper articles to you. Climate is very complex. That's an understatement. And there are many approaches to trying to predict what will happen, ranging from greenhouse gas scenarios. What happens if our carbon output increases by X amount? To climate modeling based on global temperature changes. What happens if current trends continue? Keep in mind, too, that different regions of the Earth will experience different changes. Yet from Bill McKibben's anti-carbon campaign group, 350.org, to Bob Inglis's Republican, a Conservatives for Climate Change Solutions group, the call for concern and action on all levels is clear. Here in the Northwest, farmers are getting worried. Just as climate change itself can seem almost impossibly complex, so too can our assessment of how much particular activities, like beef farming, or an airplane trip, or particular products like a new car or an apple from Chile, contribute to it. The common way to do this is to figure out something's carbon footprint, a term I use in this book. It is especially useful when comparing products and activities regarding our human impacts. Many carbon footprint calculators are available online, but the term's limitations must be recognized. Basically, carbon footprint is an imprecise and inadequate term. Footprint signifies impact, and carbon refers to the amount of carbon dioxide produced, or its carbon equivalent. But what gets included in the calculation is highly variable, and impacts on climate change from things other than carbon are not included. Furthermore, the full carbon costs of many things are so complex, they are virtually impossible to measure, and some that are measurable, like imported bananas, suggest surprisingly low impacts. The difficulties inherent in the term are exhaustively and humorously explored by Mike Berners-Lee in How Bad Are Bananas? The Carbon Footprint of Everything. Gary Adamkiewicz of Harvard University has spoken about the related concept of food miles, as well as how buying local might not always be the best option to reduce carbon emissions. Adamkiewicz handles the conundrums and nuance well. Local is a good principle, but not necessarily a universal rule in terms of carbon impacts on the environment. So something for us to think about. But the point is, we are thinking about it. Tonight, after dinner, my partner and I were looking at our sheep, all three of the sheep, and looking at the very careful pastures we've created and paddocks, basically, that we're managing very intensively. And we were speculating on the dynamics of the carbon breakdown, of the organic breakdown in this soil, and what would be needed to have an even more perfect breakdown in this soil. If we're talking about organic matter from certain kinds of livestock adding to the soil in ecologically acceptable, sensitive numbers, let's say. Chickens would break up those clods of organic matter, perhaps, helping in terms of the dynamic of that carbon into the soil, rather than into the atmosphere. I don't know, we're talking about it. It's something we talked a lot about when I was writing FoodWISE as well. It's good to talk. It's good for universities to talk too. And I've included yet another article of confusion around universities doing the right thing and thinking things through and coming to some kind of decision about opening in the fall. Lastly, labor. Once again, labor and coronavirus. Labor needs and labor supply. Labor demand and labor availability. What is happening? Here's an article on the UK. And also a very humorous critique of HRH, Prince Charles' solution to the labor problems in the UK.